Welcome. Do you know about the vagus nerve and how it relates to trauma? Make sure to watch the whole video because I'll be going over a detailed explanation. Please remember to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notifications bell if you enjoy this content. My name is Stephanie. You probably know me as Altered States of Consciousness. Now, many people who don't know a lot about trauma think that trauma has to do with something that happened to you a long time ago. That the past is the past and the only thing that matters is what happens right now, in the present. And what is trauma? It is the residue that a past event leaves in your own sensory experiences, like in your body. And it's not usually that event out there that becomes uncomfortable, but the physical sensations within you that become intolerable, and you will do anything to make them go away. The vagus nerve is the commander-in-chief when it comes to having grace under pressure. The autonomic nervous system is comprised of two polar opposite systems that create a complementary tug of war, which allows your body to maintain homeostasis, or inner stability. The sympathetic nervous system is geared to rev you up like the gas pedal in a car. It thrives on adrenaline and cortisol and is part of the fight or flight response. The parasympathetic nervous system is its polar opposite. Here, the vagus nerve is command central. Unfortunately, the vagus nerve's reflexive responses can begin to backfire. The vagus nerve is known as the wandering nerve because it has multiple branches that diverge from two thick stems rooted in the cerebellum and the brainstem. This nerve wanders to the lowest part of our abdomen and guts, touching our hearts and most major organs along the way. Vagus means wandering in Latin. It meanders all the way down into the belly, spreading fibers to the tongue, vocal cords, lungs, heart, stomach, intestines, and glands that produce anti-stress enzymes and hormones like acetylcholine and oxytocin. Here, the vagus nerve influences digestion, metabolism, and the relaxation response. The vagus nerve is one of 12 cranial nerves that emerge directly from the brain to relay information between it and other parts of the body, primarily in the head and neck. However, the vagus nerve, which is the longest nerve of the autonomic nervous system, provides sensory and motor innervation to most of the organs in the chest and abdomen, including the digestive system, liver, spleen, pancreas, heart, and lungs. The vagus nerve is one of the largest nerve systems in the body. Only the spinal column is bigger. Sometimes this nerve is referred to as cranial nerve X, or the 10th cranial nerve. The vagus is used to send a variety of signals throughout the body, but will also transfer signals back to the brain. The vagus nerve is constantly sending updated sensory information about the state of the body's organs upstream to your brain via different nerves. In fact, 80 to 90% of the nerve fibers in the vagus nerve are dedicated to communicating the state of your organs up to your brain. The vagus is one of the larger, more important nerves in the human body. One key role that it plays is as the reset button to counteract when our alarm system has been set off, resulting in the infamous fight, flight, or freeze response. The vagus nerve basically tells the body and the brain, it is safe now. The threat is gone. All bodily functions can return to normal. These mechanisms probably worked great in the past when perhaps a large predator might be looming on the horizon. But what we have now with an epidemic of high anxiety is a malfunctioning, overly sensitive alarm system, just like the car down the block that seems to blare at the slightest disturbance. Threats that are now setting off our alarm systems include possible job performance issues, paying bills, fears of romantic rejection, or even fears that people might see through our outer persona. Meanwhile, our calming system, the vagus nerve, may be underactive and almost forgotten how to function. What can result is a worst case scenario where the alarm system, aka anxiety, is always on. The scary part is that we can get used to this alarm going off, while it wreaks havoc upon our bodies and our nervous system. However, there is hope in working with the vagus nerve. While we have to work on our alarm system and shutting it off when there is no reason to be stressed, we can also work on stimulating our vagus nerve so that our bodies can start to remember how its calming system is supposed to work. The most effective natural method for stimulating the vagus nerve is deep belly breathing that you typically associate with yoga and meditation. And think about it, air is the very first thing we need for survival, before water and food. Additionally, in yoga class, you are consciously turning your alarm systems off, often closing your eyes, trusting your instructor, and letting yourself be vulnerable. Your trusted instructor will handle any threats that attempt to enter the safe, nurturing space while you stimulate your vagus nerve. So when you are in yoga class or practicing these slow breathing methods, you are working to rebalance what for many in our modern culture is an out-of-whack system. For those suffering from high anxiety, a conscious effort to implement this rebalancing act is imperative. But there's a catch. While the far-reaching benefits of mindfulness meditation and related practices for improving mental and physical well-being are becoming more widely acknowledged, what is perhaps not so well understood is that mindfulness alone can be ineffective and can even cause discomfort for people who have experienced deep psychological or emotional trauma. Past traumatic experiences often leave long-lasting imprints on our minds and bodies, clouding our sensory experiences of the present. And they often bring up unpleasant physical manifestations that mirror one's reaction to past traumas. Science is just beginning to understand why, and it all seems to point to our understanding of the vagus nerve, which is central to a multitude of physiological functions that are underlying everything from mental and physical well-being to maintaining relationships and general happiness. Dutch psychiatrist Bessel van der Kolk, who wrote the book The Body Keeps the Score, which I'll link in the description, has studied post-traumatic stress disorder since the 1970s. He emphasizes the importance of the vagus as the critical nerve in the expression and management of emotions in both humans and animals. The functioning of the vagus nerve, which is unique to mammals, is closely tied to immune system response, and evidence suggests that this nerve also regulates the body's inflammation response to disease. The vagus, as one of the great mind-body nexuses in the human nervous system. The vagus nerve wanders through your body, starting right up at the top of your spinal cord. It goes to muscles in your neck that help you nod your head, orient your gaze towards other people, and vocalize. It then goes down and helps coordinate the interaction between your breathing and your heart rate. Every time you take a deep breath, your heart rate slows down. Then it drops down to the spleen and liver and controls a lot of digestive processes. It's this amazing bundle of nerves that helps you communicate. It helps you empathize by orienting gaze. Scientist Steve Porges said, "This is the love nerve in your body. It's the caretaking nerve in your body." The vagus nerve is also connected to our guts. In fact, it surrounds and supports all of our internal organs with the notable exception of the adrenal glands. It supplies parasympathetic fibers to these organs, meaning that the vagus nerve is a rest and digest nerve, not a fight or flight nerve. Van der Kolk quotes, "The heart, guts, and brain communicate intimately via a nerve, the vagus nerve, the critical nerve in the expression and management of emotions in both humans and animals. When the mind is strongly excited, it instantly affects the state of our belly or viscera. This is, of course, why our guts react so strongly to our emotional state. When you have a persistent sense of heartbreak, the gut wrench, the physical sensations become intolerable, and we will begin to do anything to make those feelings disappear. Once you have these horrible sensations in your body, you'll do anything to make it go away. If these sensations last long enough, your whole brain starts fighting against emotions. And what happens in the long range is that the traumatized people who continuously have a state of heartbreak and gut-wrenching feelings learn to shut off the sensations in their bodies, and they go through life not feeling their physical presence. We are beginning to understand why traumatized people have such a hard time with mindfulness and why mindfulness in principle doesn't work for traumatized people. Van der Kolk had sent many of his highly traumatized patients to do mindfulness exercises and found that many of them were returning in a state of upset and agitation. As they became silent and started to pay attention to themselves, they get overwhelmed with the physical sensations and they would flee. Because being mindful means that you get confronted with your internal world. In other words, the sensations of the internal world can be so intense that lacking the tools to work through those sensations, people dissociate during mindfulness exercises. This is not limited to mindfulness, but happens in other types of movement, meditative, or healing practices, such as breathwork, qigong, yoga, or massage. Van der Kolk has found a useful tool for moving through this difficulty. It's called neurofeedback, which helps individuals learn to self-regulate by using a feedback tool very similar to a video game that rewards the user for achieving target states, such as relaxation, alertness, or focus. While neurofeedback is a very useful tool and maybe a major breakthrough in trauma recovery, it is not always easy to access. There are other therapies that help individuals work with the emotions and physical sensations that often trigger dissociation. I also believe that bodywork and somatic re-education, like acupuncture, massage, qigong, breathwork, chanting, and yoga, are essential components to releasing and restoring function to tissues and organs that have lost mobility due to years of fleeing from those physical sensations that Van der Kolk describes. We may learn to stay present with our physical sensations, but if the diaphragm is too tight, just like your shoulders, or the stomach can't move properly in the abdomen, people will have to work really hard to achieve calm presence. However, the issue is often truly much more complex than this, and healing for many people occurs not by a magic button, but through many interwoven processes that include acupuncture, movement work, EMDR, neurofeedback, nutritional counseling, talk therapy, and meditation or mindfulness practices. Given the core role of the vagus nerve, it should come as no surprise that impaired functioning can lead to a host of conditions and problems, physical, emotional, and mental. Some neurological diseases actually originate in the digestive system, spreading to the brain via the vagus nerve. Research on the vagus nerve continues. It will likely hold key information on the mind-body connection. The nerve is bidirectional, meaning it sends messages from the brain to the body and vice versa. However, 80% of its capacity is directed towards channeling information from the body to the brain. It is essentially how the body talks to the brain. And don't forget, the vagus nerve is the vagabond nerve that wanders around and surrounds our heart and core area. It is heart-centered and noted as the nerve of intuition and the nerve of compassion. When we feel safe, without threat or anxiety, these abilities and inclinations are free to expand. Recent studies suggest that stimulating and improving the tone of the vagus nerve offers significant psychological and health benefits. One study in particular found that stimulating the vagus nerve dramatically reduced the severity of depression, while another concluded that mindfulness meditation optimized the connectivity of the nerve, lowering inflammation and improving the brain's ability to manage stress and anxiety. Both studies indicate that holistic treatments can improve psychological and physical well-being. without resorting in prescription drugs, although the variety of treatments also depends on the type of disorder, whether the vagus is underactive or inactive, or overreactive to ordinary stimuli. While the issue remains extremely complex and there is no magic fix for most people in this situation, a variety of non-invasive stimulation methods have been recommended for the vagus nerve and dealing with the effects of long-term trauma. Among them are physical re-education techniques such as acupuncture, massage, qigong, combined with nutritional guidance, spoken therapy, and, if applicable, mindfulness techniques. These tools and practices can begin to provide hope and genuine relief for trauma survivors. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to my channel and hit the notifications bell to be notified when I post new videos. I'll be talking more about the vagus nerve and how to stimulate it for trauma relief in my upcoming videos. See you next time.